Good morning, children. Today I will be taking properties and composition of normal urine. What are the physical and the chemical properties? Physical properties and its chemical composition of normal urine in human is shown in your book in two tables. First we'll do the physical properties. The of normal urine, the volume is 1 to 1.5 liters per day. This is normally we urinate out this amount of water, urine, but it may vary also person to person. The color of urine is somewhat clear, but sometimes you may find it may be faint yellow or honey yellow like color. Amber liquid means honey like yellow. Due to the when it becomes faint yellow or honey like yellow liquid, it is because of the presence of a pigment urochrome. But the color varies with the diet and concentration also. If the urine is more concentrated, the color will be towards the darker side. If it is dilute, it means more of water in it, it will be almost clear liquid like part. Stored urine, when the urine is stored or gets collected somewhere, it becomes turbid, that means cloudy or muddy due to the sedimentation of salts and mucus. When it is stored for a long time in the urinary bladder, so it gives a cloudy appearance due to the settling down of the salts and mucus. It is normal urine is normally acidic, slightly acidic in nature, but more of protein diet. If we are taking more of protein diet, it will increase its acidity, whereas vegetable diet makes it alkaline. Odor, that is smell, it gives a very particular faint smell due to a bad smelling substance urinode. The smelling becomes more strong like ammonia like in standing urine. If the urine is being present at some place for a long period of time, so due to the formation of ammonia, it gives a very strong particular smell, we'll feel it. Specific gravity is 1.003 to 1.004, that is the specific gravity compared to the liquid, that is its density. Now chemical composition, 90 of normal urine, 95% of urine is water and 5% of it is made up of salts, some organic salts, some inorganic salts. Organic salts contains urea, uric acid, creatinine, that is a particular type of protein, and other substances. These are the organic compounds which are present in the urine. Inorganic compounds are sodium chloride, potassium chloride, sulfuric acid, ammonia, calcium, phosphate, and other substances. Beside these, the substances, these are present in the normal urine. It is the composition of normal urine. But beside these substances, the urine may also contain certain hormones, certain medicines. If a person is on medicine, of course, that the medicine will be passed out with the urine, like antibiotics and excess vitamins. They all are being given out. These substances, they vary from person to person depending on the medication. If the body is forming excess of vitamin is there, so this may vary. Now conduction of urine is, I told you, urine is formed in the kidneys in the uriniferous tubule. Each uriniferous tubule carries on the function of formation of urine. So every kidney, every nephron, every uriniferous tubule will form the urine last of all and will pour it into the collecting duct. From the collecting duct, the urine will go into the pelvis of the ureter, the anterior part, funnel shaped part, the pelvis, then to the tubular part of ureter, to the urinary bladder. So the urine moves down the ureters due to peristaltic waves. Peristaltic movement will push down the urine in its wall. At the other end, the ureters open into the urinary bladder through a tilted tunnels. These ureters will not go straight and open into the urinary bladder, but they will tilt and will become slightly curved at its opening end. When the urinary bladder is slightly more than half filled, then the free nerve endings in the walls of the urinary bladders, the nerves tissues are present, they will stimulate the part of the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder will be stimulated. So sensitivity will be produced, which will give an urge to pass out the urine. Then the sphincter muscle, which is the opening of this sphincter muscle, they're made up of circular muscles here. These muscles, they will relax. And when they relax, the opening of the urinary bladder to the urethra opens and the urine is passed outside through the urethra. Passing through the urethra. Urine from the urinary bladder will be transported to urethra. Urethra will let it move out of the body. Then once the urine is passed out, these sphincter muscles, these circular muscles, which guards the opening of the urinary bladder to urethra, they will contract, and when they contract, the muscles, circular muscles, they come close to one another and the opening is closed. Now we'll find this is how the wave of contraction passes into the bladder. It helps in draining the urine through the urethra due to oblique passage. When the urinary bladder will contract to pass out the urine, because of the tilted mouth or opening of the ureters, the urine will not flow back into the ureters. So due to oblique passage, the ureters get closed and prevent the backflow of urine into them. And the process of passing out the urine is also called urination, and it is also called as micturition. Now, urine output regulation. The posterior lobe. Next chapter I will take endocrine system. There I will explain you this in detail. There is a pituitary gland is present in our forehead, and its posterior lobe secretes a particular type of hormone called as antidiuretic hormone, ADH, and this hormone regulates the concentration of urine by water reabsorption. So this hormone is responsible. If the secretion of ADH is reduced, if this hormone is produced less, then there will be no other chemical substance. Then the uriniferous tubule will not be stimulated if ADH stimulates them. If ADH secreted is less, so they will not be stimulated, so they won't be able to reabsorb the excess water. Water will be left as such, and the urine production will increase. There are certain substances also like tea, coffee, alcohol, beer. These liquids, they help in increased production of urine output. These substances which increase the urine formation or which helps in the production of more of urine are called as diuretics. These liquids are called diuretics. What is osmoregulation? It is the process of maintaining the water and salt contents constant in the body is called osmoregulation. That is to maintain the concentration of water and salt in the blood of our body, that is called as osmoregulation, and it is we'll find the kidneys are only responsible for maintaining their percentage in our body. So these organs, these kidneys are called as osmoregulatory organs. This osmoregulation is very important because the osmotic pressure of the tissue, that is body cells, and the blood is different. So water will always diffuse from the water will also diffuse from the low osmotic pressure to the higher osmotic pressure. The low osmotic pressure means where solute is less. High osmotic pressure will be where solute is more. So water will move from the low osmotic pressure to the higher osmotic pressure, and this will cause disbalance in the blood, in the body tissue. There will be a great disbalance. So it is the kidneys only which, if excess water is there, they will remove it out as urine. If the content of water is less in the body cells or in the blood, it will reabsorb it to replenish, to complete the requirement of water in the body. So it will hamper, that is, it will obstruct the normal working of the body. Drinking enough water directly or along with the food, we will find helps the kidneys in their proper working. So we should take in enough of plain water. Apart from that, we take in the liquid diet, and the vegetables and fruits also have their own content of water, which also the body gets along with that. Now, in tropical climates like India, human beings, they take in large quantity of water during summers. Every now or then we feel like drinking water, but beside that, what happens? We urinate lesser time, less of urine comes, and that too is highly concentrated. Why is it so? Because during summers, the water is also lost from the body through sweat by perspiration. Lot of sweating takes place, so lot of water is being given out through sweating also. And for that reason, the water in the urine is passed out lesser time, less quantity, and it is more concentrated compared to winters. In winters, though we do not take in enough water, we take limited amount of water, but still we urinate many times and lot of urine is passed out because we do not sweat. No sweating takes place in winter. As a result, because of no perspiration, so the only source of giving out of excess water is by urine. So whereas in winter there is no sweating and most of the excess water is eliminated from the body in the form of urine. Now what happens in cholera? It is the disease which is caused due to the bacterial infection, and its symptoms are frequent vomiting and diarrhea. Both vomiting and diarrhea, they result in the loss of water. Through vomiting also we are losing water from our body. Through diarrhea also lot of water, because watery like stool is passed out, water is lost. So because of inability of the intestine to absorb water due to infection, to maintain the water content constant, the kidneys will absorb. The function of kidneys to absorb excess water. Its tubular part will reabsorb the water and will give it back to our body. So because of high deficient quantity of water in our body, the kidneys will keep on absorbing and keep on absorbing to replenish, to meet the requirement of the blood and body. They will keep on absorbing, they'll keep on giving to the blood. In turn, to that extent they absorb water from these kidney tubules. They absorb water from glomerular filter to that extent that urea also comes along with it. So again the urea comes into the body due to excessive reabsorption. That accumulation of urea in the body is highly toxic and it may cause death of a person. This higher concentration of the urea this condition is called uremia, UREMIA, and the immediate treatment is that is dehydration has started taking place in the body. So what immediate treatment is to be given? That is, the water should be supplied to the blood by glucose saline drip is given to a patient, or by given oral rehydration solution, ORS. We take electrol, we put salt and glucose sugar in the water and we drink it. That is ORS, oral rehydration solution, through the mouth we take. Otherwise, if the case is serious, the person is given by this glucose saline drip is given. Salt and the glucose mixture is given to the body directly through the vein into the blood. So functions of kidney I will be taking tomorrow. Thank you.